going to try to do a quick one. It's less than 3 minutes, and it covers why everyone's in the streets all over the world yelling at each other. Okay. I'm of the view that representative government, as we have it nowadays, is a hideous abomination of what it was meant to be. Political parties are a sick trick by some sort of elite puppet string masters, and that the current ideologies and teams that we find ourselves in, are a bit of a masquerade, and I think we should all feel pretty sheepish for ascribing to them pretty much post like the 60s, let's be honest, but we'll get there. So my understanding of representative government, I guess, is a little more black and white than most people's, but I believe the entire game is the people versus the machine. The machine wishes to continue in the form that it is. Invariably does wish to benefit the people, as that benefits the machine. The machine just being government, it being a sort of non-thinking executive branch version. It just efficiently does its tasks. And the people's job is to react and create the apparatus, I guess, for the best of them, to best their own vision, their own desires, and hopefully for the betterment of everyone within the people this government governs. And I believe that was what, the point of sending a representative into a parliament to discuss with other representatives how government should work. I believe that's how it was meant to be. Keeping it really basic, you were meant to elect a community representative who goes to a bunch of other community representatives and talks about problems that their own community is facing and the problems that the other communities are facing, and tries to solve it via, enacting some sort of rule or system that all the communities can abide by that benefits everyone as much as possible, or at least more than 50%, because, that was democracy, or that is democracy. That was democracy, hey? From there, how we get to political parties is actually pretty interesting and pretty fuzzy, and probably a story for another time, or a rant, or a 15-minute yelling spree. But obviously there are different all-encompassing ideologies that spring up as to how a government should be formed and what it should do. And back in the days, I guess, in the 19th century and in the early 20th century, or up to the middle of the 20th century, information couldn't be spread very quickly, and ascribing to an entire ideology and allowing a representative to enact that for 4 years was the best way to make sure we all kind of agreed what we should be doing. Nowadays, that's changed, and people wish to react to issues perhaps in ways that don't ascribe with the overall philosophy of the group of communities, or even don't agree with what we all thought we agreed 2 years ago. Or 10 years ago, or 15, 20 years ago, and these things don't change quick enough, and we know that they're capable of doing it due to how fast we understand information can be shared nowadays and how interconnected we all are. So we see a lag between what we want and what our representatives are doing. Even if this is only 3 or 4 years, it's still way too slow nowadays, and we know it's possible. Like, inherently, people know it's possible to react to things how the people want quicker. And I think that's why a lot of these rallies and giant movements that we're seeing all over the world and in Australia are popping up, because they are people who all agree on how an issue should be resolved, but perhaps aren't able to all fall in line behind one entire ideology, but they're being forced to. So when their specific issue comes up, they sort of need to voice when they truly do, agree with everything or disagree with everything that's the way the issue is being resolved, even if they don't agree to these, the old ways of political parties and the entire ideology and ascribing to this way for 4 years. So I think we have the ability nowadays, and I think a lot of people, even just on social media, are able to show how quickly we can form into our teams and express our opinions on every single issue that pops up within an hour, So I think using that, or I think it's time that we begin using that to change how we do politics, just like we changed politics to have parties and that to be the primary way that we think of our representatives. We need to start thinking of our representatives as representatives of the community who who do in Parliament what the community wishes them to do. Very basic system. Because we're able to use such a advanced system to enable that. So when an issue comes up, that representative goes to the community. How do you want me to answer? The community talks amongst itself. It spreads its information. It comes to a conclusion, votes individually, and sends the results of those back to the representative who says, more than X% believe this. That's how I will represent the community. And we can be doing that every day and changing it and disagreeing and having those discussions every single day rather than every 4 years. And I think the frustration of waiting is why we see so much anger in the streets. And I hope that digital democracy can alleviate that, or at least make it so if you're going to be so angry that you personally are in the streets, you should be able to show, like by turning on your phone and turning it to the face of the person you're talking to, and show how many million or thousand or hundred or what percent of people in this specific electorate, or however you want it, we can cut those diagrams up, agree with the actions or the political ideology or even just the political solution to this specific issue that you're in the streets yelling about. And I say that to activists who are putting work in the streets, and I say that from my bedroom because I believe we can start a revolution from our bedrooms because we have the technology nowadays. We don't need to be blood in the streets. I don't know, this got a little bit ranty, but I'll chop it up, maybe add some pictures or whatever. Probably won't because I'm lazy. Definitely will add the Flux theme song. Cool, bye.